Usyk doesn't speak English, but when you're in the ring, you'll be speaking the language of boxing. So what kind of message will you be putting in the ring on Saturday?
Dish, 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 dish. Has, dish, dish. That's the only language that he needs to know. You know, war, straight war.
Lewis, you've received headlines and praise from sports fans due to your titles, your records, and of course the way you use your platform to highlight social issues in society. But how would you like your legacy to be remembered when it comes to your work as a sports person and a campaigner?
I've never wanted to be defined by just by a driver, because there are so many more elements to who I am, and I think ultimately someone that cares and hopefully try to use the platform to really shift ideals, to really shift perceptions, and put pressure on systems to go in the right direction, to be more inclusive.
But first, he's a man that doesn't really need any kind of introduction. As a manager, in every country that he's managed in, he's won titles and he's won cups. He's well respected by his peers, having been voted 4 times the best club coach in the world. He's one of only a few coaches who can say they've won the UEFA Champions League twice with 2 different teams. But back in 2004, he was a young, promising manager of a Porto side that hadn't won the Champions League since 1987, up against a Manchester United team that was managed by Sir Alex Ferguson. Jose, your hair is a lot shorter than it was back then, but you're looking well.
Thank you.
And of course, for you to become the special one, you had to overcome a team that had the likes of Gary Neville, Roy Keane, Paul Scholes and Van Nistelrooy up front. So first question, how did you set up your team?
First of all, before we set up the team, we set up the mentality, the right...
Only yesterday someone bid £35,000 for the chance to have dinner with the man next to me. Such is the impact on the game, such is the love that people have for him across the football world. Arsene, thank you for joining us. I know it's been a while now, you're back in North London. Can you think back to when you first arrived in the capital? What were your first thoughts?
My first thought was to convince people that I have a capacity to do the job.
After the loss to Italy, there were some England fans who turned on some of the England players. As a legend for our country, how did that make you feel?
Sick, I think is the best word. What I said immediately after that had all happened, if I was ever interviewed or spoken to by anybody, not for 1 second was I going to be negative about the game, the performances and the penalties.
Today, Coley fulfilled a promise to return to his family with a world title belt. WBO Cruiserweight Champion of the World. How does it feel hearing that?
No, it feels good. Obviously, it feels better now. Obviously, seeing my mum and everyone.
First and foremost, Anthony, how do you feel?
I feel good. Tired. Training kept us how it is. Train hard, fight easy.
So if you were to talk me through that journey you've gone on since that loss, what have you learned about AJ?
I'm a soldier. I don't change underneath tricky circumstances. I don't see problems that can revert to getting me angry. I see solution, which makes me generally chilled out.
So then we look forward to the fight. Be foreign soil again.
Yeah.
Same AJ.
Yeah.
Same Andy. Why would it be a different result?
Only God knows. But I prepare to the best of my capability, and I pray that I get the win.
So then, looking at your own preparation.
Yeah.
I was here last time. There was the show. There was the putting on the event, introducing yourself to the American market. It seems like it's been compact now this time. Why is that?
Exactly that. Before, like a lot of the. Look, when we got into boxing, I knew that we needed to inject it with something. Like I needed my own little spice.
When you look back to your career, that loss against Joshua in 2015, if you were to speak to that version of yourself now, what would you say?
I'd say, idiot, go and train properly. You know, you can't fight no top guys messing around training in Brixton. Go and train properly.
So if you were in the ring with that version of yourself today, how many rounds would he last?
I don't know, man, because that person still have the junkyard dog in him.
There'll be people who doubted you before the fight. Physically, people were making memes. And what do you say to them now?
Well, we did it, you know. We did it. I still got more to prove.
And if you were to give a message to all of the young Londoners and older Londoners who weren't able to come today but are searching for what they want to do in their life or how they want to develop forward, what would that message be, Deontay?
The message I would give every ear that would listen, that never give up, no matter what.
Show the quality.
And briefly, this is a competition that you've had a lot of success as a player, so how does it feel to get your first win as a manager?
I think you just have to listen to the fans. It means a lot.
In the folklore of the FA Cup, there'll be a sentence about Luke Garrard, there'll be a sentence about Boreham Wood, but the pen's still on the paper. So when it comes to that trip up to Everton, what are your plans?
Listen, for me, it's going to be tough. I'm not foolish. I know how tough they're going to be. They're a Premier League outfit for a reason. They've got an unbelievable manager in Frank Lampard.
And Luke, where you were sat in terms of the dugout, you literally had to watch the minutes tick by. So how agonising was that for you?
After 4 minutes, I said to the fourth, "Is that 20 gone?" It was the last 10 for me. The little flicks across the face of the goal, the headers.
When you look at this pommel horse, this one piece of apparatus, how has it changed your life?
I think it's been a pretty crazy journey, but I can look at a pommel horse and it's always been my favourite piece of apparatus since I was literally a young boy. You know, I started when I was 7.
So when you look at this trophy that you obviously put time, effort in to get into a level where you could win it, how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel emotional every time I see it.
Tensions are very high. You literally see the game is playing right now, John. How does it feel to have this energy in England after a pandemic where obviously people were saddened more what's going on, but once again people are loving football?
Yeah, but you look at the two games yesterday, the 5-3 and the 3-0. People are falling in love with football because the Euros are so exciting, so much attacking football. And after COVID and the pandemic, it's given people a bit of a release. So it's great football and everyone's having a good time.
And of course, many England fans, they're looking at this current 0-0. They'll be looking to penalties, fearing penalties. Do you think this team can break the hoodoo?
Well, I'm hoping for us not to go to penalties. If we go to penalties, it's a 50-50, it's a lottery, but I'd rather win it in 90 minutes or extra time.
And if you were to give a word of advice to these players in the biggest game of their life?
Don't go to penalties.
Very simple advice for John Barnes, but I'm sure all the fans in Box Park and across the UK will be hoping and praying that England find a way to score within those next 45 minutes. The game's already started. I'm sure John's eager to get back to the game.
Well, I'm watching the game here as we speak, so sorry to be not looking at you, but things are getting exciting.
As you can see, live television. John, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Antoine and John Barnes, thank you.
Look back on this day, what goes through your mind?
That was my first Olympic gold. You think about it, the pressure, London. It was difficult, and at that point I was just like, really? Have I won?
He did win, and in doing so he completed GB's golden trio. Greg Rutherford and Jessica Ennis had already won gold on the day that became known as Super Saturday. But out of those 3 gold medalists, you're the only one that's left that's trying to get another gold. How have you maintained that?
No, what drives me is that moment, Super Saturday, me.
Joined by not only a World Cup winner, the only man who's played for England who scored a try in a World Cup final, Jason Robertson, living the legend. Jason, you've played against so many great players. Who was the toughest opponent you had?
Wow, that's quite a tough one. But I have to say,
when I was by myself, the truth was coming up. You know, I'm not a person that cries, but there was times where whenever I saw my niece, my youngest niece, I was crying. And I was thinking, what's wrong with me? What's going on?
In the middle of the 2020 lockdown, boxer Anthony Yard told me how the coronavirus had claimed the life of his father and grandmother.
When it first happened, I didn't know how to feel.
By the end of the year, Yard had even more deaths in his family, which he says contributed to his second career loss in the ring. You were one of the few sports people to talk about not just how the pandemic had impacted their career, but the loss of your family members. Just how hard was 2020 for you?
People think it was only 2 family members. I actually lost 3 grandparents and my father. But the thing is that after the first 2, because of the kind of media attention it got, there was a lot of family members saying, we don't want to tell everybody anymore because it's too much. You know, it's too much. So I left it and I just dealt with it in silence.
Question to you, Strauss. During that period, there were many, many highs, but of course, there was also a lot of lows. What did you learn from that period, and what did you take from it?
Well, I think firstly that if you want to achieve something special...
and you enter the boxing gym to lose weight and to overcome the bullying that you faced. If you were to give a word of advice to a young person that's going through the same struggle and challenges, what would it be?
I'll tell him to just believe in himself and anything that you want to change.
You started boxing as a boy, you're now a man and a father. What would it mean for you to go home as a champion to present that belt to your two sons?
It would mean everything to sort of make them proud, and obviously they're way too young.
How do you overcome potential fear when you've got like a Joffre bearing down on you? You know how fast he can bowl, and you've seen what he's done to the Australian.
You try and tell yourself that you're good. You just try and big yourself up a bit. Try and say, right, he's just a bowler. I'm a good batsman. Back myself.
Any player facing Joffre Archer's going to need protection. The 100 takes place during school holidays, so families can watch their heroes. So Joe, you'll be one of the batsmen that have to face down Joffre like I just did. What tips could you give me?
Well, let's start with your grip. If you just...
Beth, when you first got onto one of these bikes, did you dare to dream that one day you'd have a gold medal around your neck?
To be honest, well, I'd always dreamed of it. I saw Mariana do it 2 times, and I was like, oh, like it is like you say, the dream.
So you've not just been in finals, you've won gold medals, you've won every single championship. England have been to 3 finals, but not quite been able to seal the deal. In terms of mental pressure and being able to get over the final hurdle, how do you do that?
I think they've just got to believe in themselves, but also believe in the team.
I'm not sure how many people listening or watching have dived themselves, because obviously it's very high. When you first ever decide this is what I want to do with my life, how did you overcome those fears that most of us would have?
It's going to sound like really weird, but I kind of like enjoyed the pain of the sport.
Everyone is world class, but how are you able to separate yourself from the rest? What extra training would you do, or what mindset do you think you had that they may have been lacking?
To be honest, I think the thing that separates the good ones from the best ones is mental application.
Exciting race in Bermuda, mainly because of the high winds. Mark, how does that compare to today?
Well, the one thing as a sailor you've got to deal with, you get up in the morning and you look outside, and that's going to be your office for today, isn't it?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, been joined by Kate McGregor, our commentator and also an Olympian. Now, we saw an amazing race from our Spy series, and they make it look so easy out there on the boats. We were early on the stage, you had yourself and you had Mark. Obviously Mark's a giant and you're not so giant, so there'll be people wondering what are the different roles on the boats and why is it for everyone?
So looking at the F50 in particular, we've got the grinders at the front of the boat. They're the powerhouses. They make things happen on the boat. They are working away, pumping.
When it comes to Wimbledon, is it in your mind, would it be better to be with your brother one day to win the title or against him in the final?
I'd rather be playing on the same side of the net as him in the Wimbledon final than playing against him. That would be like incredibly awkward and weird to have to do that.
So then if it does happen this year, what's going through your mind when you're walking onto court opposite your brother?
Well, I mean, in a way you're conflicted. And the thing is, like, it's my biggest goal in my career to win men's doubles at Wimbledon.
I know everybody in the playground's playing around and having fun, but what made you think actually this can be my career?
I realised when I started getting scouted, I was playing for a local team, Ripaway, Sunday League team, and I had a few scouts coming up to my dad, West Ham, Arsenal, and that's when I started to think, okay, maybe...
Many footballers have faced racism, and it's been an issue in the sport for many, many years now. When it came to them taking the biggest kick in their life, could that trauma have been in their mind?
Absolutely. I feel that throughout the years we've seen so much scrutiny and racist abuse.
Sharky, what is your one word before you go and grab yourself some food when you get home?
Hungry.
You think the players are hungry or are you hungry? Both. Both. That's what we want to hear. We want to see a hungry Arsenal squad, hungry for success and hungry to keep entertaining you. So thank you for watching Arsenal.
And also I think it will release one of those defensive midfielders we've got.
We were speaking earlier about how fans can really push on there to foil, and it's such a momentous game. Does it push you further or is there so much pressure on your shoulders sometimes you can buckle? You, Stamman Dave, why is Renato Sanchez actually a big... Watching previous footage of where this...